Hey, y'all, it's Michelle with SLP Full Disclosure, and welcome to the podcast today. I'm so excited to be joined by Izzy Montano. Izzy, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michelle.
I'm so excited.
Enjoy.
I think I stalked you. Did I find you on LinkedIn?
Yes, you did.
I think I did. Yeah. I found Izzy on LinkedIn. And what stood out to me was AI, which, we've talked about AI on the podcast before. I use it in a very general way in my therapy every day. Izzy, has developed an amazing tool called SLP AI Tools. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. And when you guys hear Izzy's bio, you're going to fall in love with him. So it is incredible. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Izzy. Izzy is also known as Mr. And he is a former U.S. Naval Intelligence Specialist who served in San Diego, Hawaii, and Australia, supporting PACCOM's objectives between 2015 and 2022. He began his journey in communication through American Sign Language, originally intending to become an ASL interpreter. However, that passion eventually led him to speech-language pathology. He attended San Diego State and the University of South Dakota to become an SLP. He has worked in private practice, teletherapy, and now serves as an independent contractor for the Arlington School District, where he works with developmental preschool and high school students, managing a caseload of over 100. He's also the founder of SLP AI Tools, blending his clinical experience with crafting SLP-first AI technology. Outside of work, he is steadily working toward joining the 1,000-pound club in weightlifting, and every 2 weeks, there's one thing he always looks forward to, and that's homemade pizza made by his wife, Kaylee. Wow, I want to hear more about the pizza. Maybe we should talk about that first. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
You guys have like an outdoor pizza oven? Is that how you do it?
You know what? We should probably get one of those.
Yeah.
Because, my wife makes this amazing sourdough pizza, and I love having pineapples on it. So it's
You're
just
a pineapple on pizza guy. I don't know. We're going to have to end the podcast now. It's over. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you know what, Michelle? Maybe we should.
Oh my goodness. Izzy, I'm so excited to talk to you today. But first of all, thank you so much for your service to our country.
Absolutely. Yes.
I love your bio. So I know you're just after our intro call, I could tell that you're passionate about your job. You're passionate about the field of speech language pathology, and you're really passionate about AI. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, tell our listeners just about your journey and what led you into the field of speech language pathology after serving our country in the Navy.
Yeah. Well, I grew up over in San Diego, and in San Diego, there's a large deaf community there.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew right when I entered high school, I wanted to study and learn sign language. And then when I got to college, to community college, started taking those courses, going towards ASL. Then I realized that it's like a lot of contracting work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, I definitely want something a little bit more stable for my family because I was always family oriented. And I want something that's going to be able to provide.
Yeah.
And so I found out that speech language pathology was another route where I could take all the credits that I have and go pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And so immediately hopped right into that path. And I've just been falling in love with the profession every single year since that year in 2015.
Wow.
It's crazy. That's almost like a decade ago. That is over a decade ago.
It's over a decade ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. And we need more men in our field. Definitely need more men in our field. So how long were you practicing as a speech language pathologist before you jumped into this world of AI?
Probably 2 years.
Okay. So it was pretty quick. And you've got a caseload of over 100 kids, and all speech pathologists know that's a massive caseload. So what made you look into AI? Like you were like, I've got all these kids that I've got to manage. There's got to be a way to do this a little bit easier.
Well, you know what? I was blessed to be able to first start off in private practice teletherapy. And that's exactly where I cut my teeth. Yeah. And that's where I grew into learning how to do a lot more artificial intelligence stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I know you work via teletherapy. So it's really handy to be able to be as efficient as possible with the free games that are out there and then also the tools that are at our disposal. So it was in that setting, the teletherapy setting, where I learned how to code. And then I learned how, all right, cool. Artificial intelligence basically electrifies this a ton. So it really helped me. I'm just catered towards building an actual web application or a website that has these AI tools built within it. And I'll tell you, it's it's a little interesting journey because first I just said teletherapy, private practice, and then I learned about independent contracting with schools. So I picked up my first contract with a school district and I love it. And it was during this time that the tool was really just starting to get built. So it was nice being able to utilize my tool, immediately hopping into the school district without having to go through, 100 plus caseload without this platform.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would survive with 100 plus students the way I have it right now. Now, I do have an SLPA. So it's not as though it's like all on me for me to be able to provide those service minutes, but it's still a ton of paperwork.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, even with this caseload with over 100, like I haven't had to take work home and I've only had to stay late 2 times out of the entire year. So it's like, and that's only like 30 minutes and it's all because of this platform. So it's been a huge favor. And I've never had to deal with a caseload like that, but you have.
Yeah.
Right.
When I first started out in Orlando, my very first year after graduating with my master's degree, I had over 110 kids, brand new, didn't know what in the world I was doing. I was going in completely blind. I didn't have an SLPA. It was all on me to provide those service minutes. And it was tough. And I will tell you this, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. That was in the day where we had to write IEPs by hand on the triplicate copies. And you had to press down really hard so that it would go through all copies. Yeah. And I was actually working in Orange County, in Orlando, when our first electronic IEP system was developed. And I believe that there were some special education specialists that worked for Orange County that were in on developing that platform. And it was a game changer. It was absolutely unbelievable. So
I can only imagine. I mean, I'm pretty acquainted with those pieces of paper, again, the yellow and the pink sheets.
Yeah.
And it's like you end up keeping the yellow sheets or the pink sheet and you're like, I can't even read what's on here anymore.
It's so faint. So can you imagine? Yes. I mean, the field of speech pathology is just so diverse anyway, but we wear a lot of hats and there's a lot of things that have to be done, especially in the school district, right? Especially when you're in a school system and you've got the IEPs and you've got every little box has to be checked just perfectly or, it's going to be off and you're just in a mess. So let's talk more specifically now about SLP AI Tools. What is it? How is it going to help the SLPs that are listening in their everyday setting? And you mentioned something earlier I want to make sure that we highlight. When you first developed this platform, and let me correct me if I'm wrong, but you coded it and you wrote it yourself, right?
Yes.
Wow. How did you learn to code, Izzy?
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
it was code.
Well, it's because of artificial intelligence that I learned to code. I first was trying to code my own Google extension, like, those little things that you can extend into your Google Chrome. I was planning on creating something like that originally. But then when I started like tinkering around and learning how to piece things together, I'm like, might as well just go for a full blown like web app at this point. And so it was, it was hard. It was lots of late nights.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Yeah. So when you first developed the SLP AI Tools, it was a web-based program only, but you did recently drop the iOS version, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's on the App Store. So everybody's going to be able to get their phones out, search it up, and download it like today. That's awesome. So tell us about SLP AI Tools. What is it?
Yeah. So basically, it kills burnout for all of us. Any type of paperwork that we touch, it's going to be able to help you out with. Whether that's your documentation, evaluation, language sampling, you having to do your scheduling with your caseload, and then also even crafting materials. There's lots of really fun and cool features that I could just riddle off on. I'm pretty sure we will probably still talk about. But, I think it would be doing a lot of the listeners a disservice, especially like the young college students, a disservice if we didn't talk about, the scary parts of AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's lots of like propaganda, if I could speak plainly.
Yeah.
Propaganda
absolutely.
on both sides of this topic of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's super important to be able to understand when you see it. Because this entire time, as I've already said, like I've been in this world of artificial intelligence and the positive side of artificial intelligence for the past 3 to 5 years. I'm trying to do the math in my head, 2022. I feel like I'm still in 2025. So basically 4 years now. And I've been in this positive side of it. And so to a certain degree, I've been in my own echo chamber, listening and understanding what this is all about. And this entire time, there's this other side of artificial intelligence that's really dogging on it, that's putting a lot of bad light on it. And I would still want to highlight like the side that I've immersed myself in is propaganda. So being a former naval intelligence specialist, we had to learn and understand the basics of what is a psyop and like what actually is considered propaganda. And like a very rudimentary like explanation would be an idea that is in high contrast with another opposing idea that is actively trying to suppress other information or is not disclosing information. And so in this world that I'm in with these decamillionaire, centimillionaire, billionaire people, they are all invested in artificial intelligence. So they want all the jobs to be taken away. They want artificial intelligence to be the end all thing. They want it to just be the main driver for our gross domestic product, GDP in the country. And so you'll hear all of this positive rhetoric coming from this propaganda machine saying how transformative AI is. And it truly is transformative. I'm not going to take away from that at all. It's really incredible. But there's also some things about it that is not so good.
Yeah.
Like it hallucinates a ton.
Yeah.
It could actually lead you the wrong way. It has actually led people down a path that has not been good. And it also has some implications with, the data centers that it has built up in the past. And so coming over to the other side with this other propaganda machine, talking about how data centers are going to drive up electrical costs, water costs, it's going to be taking jobs. And a lot of this is now being charged up by this opposing group that sees this other side as wanting to be the dominant force for the economy or just for the general public. And so they're going to be constantly picking at each other as far as what's wrong with the other side or completely diminishing and not highlighting what's on the other side.
Right.
So it's super important for all of us to understand when you're in a propaganda machine, see it for what it is, and then go to the actual sources of what you're interacting with.
Yeah.
Like Michelle, I don't know if you've ever interacted with ChatGPT.
That's really all I do. I'm like, develop a third grade reading passage for, a little boy that's interested in soccer. That's how
exactly.
That's all I'd use. That's all I use AI for in my speech pathology. Minimal pairs, give me a list, target sounds, like very rudimentary, very basic. Am I using it daily?
Yeah. Yes. And so like you understand like how amazing it was to see your very first story about soccer that's at the third grade level was to see. And it's like, wow. And it has all of these targets that I wanted in there,
right?
Targeting the Z sound or whatever.
Yeah. And but then you realize done in seconds. Like it was literal seconds.
It's magical when you first like see it and you come across it, but you also see the errors that are in it. Like it's saying that the Z sound in the word or the S sound in the word is actually an S sound, but actually it's a Z at the end. Yes, but it's actually a Z if you're trying to prompt it for S. So sometimes it's not taking into consideration the things that we know.
Right.
So when we see those types of errors, it kind of demystifies it for us. And we understand that artificial intelligence isn't what it's all hyped to be. And the biggest, I would say, 2 points I would want to relay with everybody is that artificial intelligence just merely simulates any type of output, but it can never simulate origin.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence mimics what we produce, but it can never be the originator or creator of what is actually going to get done.
Right.
Because that is a human property that will always remain a human property. And the moments that we've attempted to create an agent or agentic AI where they can, get this first input from us and then they just continue to run with it and loop with it, whatever, whatnot.
Yeah.
It goes down very scary paths and we quickly realize we can't allow that to happen and we have to put it on a leash. So it's really important that we understand it only simulates output. It never, ever can simulate origin. That's ours.
And that's one thing that I've learned. The AI can only do what the human trains it to do, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it's only as good as what we put in.
Right.
So, I mean, it truly is dependent on us. And again, like going back to like this one side of the propaganda wing of like, we're going to have our own AI bot that's going to be able to take care of like this whole shebang of things within any industry. It's truly a farce. It's truly, it won't happen. As much as we would like to speak it into existence, it can't, just because of that plain reality. And the other thing I would want to just make sure I am belaboring is paperwork can never love you back. Yeah. Our paperwork is super important to us, and we're trained to treat it as very important. And it is, because it is a form of like legal document whenever you're submitting it to insurance or to a school district, whatever. But it's important to remember that the amount of elbow grease that we put into this, the amount of work that we put into this, the amount of effort that we put into this isn't going to feed us back. It's not as though the parents that are reading this, the patients that are reading this, or the doctors that are reading this really care about what's in there. They just care about some key substances, key points that are in there, and then they could care less about all the other fluff that we put in there. How well we're able to use conjunctions, or how well we can talk about this stressed syllable in the middle of a word. And they don't really care about that kind of technicality, though it's important for us to be able to exercise and say that out loud and to write that in. Mm-hmm. But it's important for us to remember where our true focus should be at. And it's those people that actually can give us back love when we're pouring in love into them. It's about going back to the patient, mm-hmm, and putting a lot more focus back into the outcomes of what we're actually aiming for, rather than most of our time going into the paperwork.
Right.
I want to say this one last thing.
Okay.
On this one point, you'll hear that, well, AI definitely takes away from somebody's ability to write and somebody's ability to, exercise their brain. And the biggest thing that I would want to emphasize with this is, if you were to use an AI tool, let's say SLP AI Tools, for your documentation, evaluation report writing, anything like that, you have to still be the origin of that. Mm-hmm. You still have to be the one that is telling it what you want to be written down. And it's also important to remember that's really your first draft. The literary process that we've all really wanted to focus on, that we've been taught to focus on, is the writing component. But mm-hmm, we tend to neglect the other super important, if not the more important part of the literary process, and that's editing. Mm-hmm. Most people who are writing books are spending more time editing them rather than writing it out, because they understand the majority of people out there in the world aren't good writers.
Right.
Like, we're not prolific. So what we're going to be doing whenever we see any type of AI generated report from what we've actually told it to write is we still have to put in a lot of grease work, a lot of mental load and logic into the editing component. So it's not as though AI is taking away our ability to reason through. It's really just allowing us to get to the point where our reasoning really does get massaged into that report.
Yeah. And I do use it in that sense. So 2 points. You were talking about how the AI is going to help us be able to give back to our students and back to our clients, because it's taking some of that load off. It's helping get some of that stuff done quickly, even though we do have to put the work in on the front end and put the information in and get it to give us what we need. We can do it in a much more efficient way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Another thing that I do, you were talking about the editing piece, is I have gone to ChatGPT, and you may have a difficult case. You may have, a child with cleft lip and cleft palate. And mm-hmm, I just didn't know how to word some of the things in the report. So I just went over to ChatGPT. I did not use exactly what ChatGPT spit out for me. I just put in a few key points, and then it allowed my brain to think more. It was like, okay, absolutely, I didn't think about that. I could word it this way. Making sure, working in a school district, they want us to word things where the parents can understand it and the teachers can understand it. They don't want the medical jargon. They don't want if I were to write a report for you, you would understand everything in it. But when we start talking about phonemes and morphemes and all of that, parents, you lose them. So I've used it in that sense as well. I will type it out like, a speech pathologist, like I would normally write it. And then I will say, put this in, easy to understand language, and it spits it right back out. But that's not something that I'm cutting and pasting over into my reports. It's just kind of a framework, and it gives me more. It just helps that thought process get going a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. It amplifies your work. Right. It doesn't take away any part of your work. Yes, absolutely.
Right. And it's helping me do it in a much more efficient way. Instead of me sitting here for 10 minutes thinking and writing and then editing and writing and editing, I can go over there, I can do it really quickly, and then I can take what it spit out, and then I can kind of word it in my own words. And that's how I use it. So I think using it responsibly and not just cutting and pasting, because it is a much more efficient way to get to the end, so that then as speech pathologists, we do have that time to spend with our clients, because that's what's important, making those connections with our clients and with our families. So
absolutely.
What is your favorite part of the SLP AI tools? Because there's so many components. You've got the soap note component. You've got the evaluation piece. You've got the language analysis piece. You've got the calendar. You've got all of these things. What is your favorite piece?
My favorite was the first tool that I built, and that was the soap note tool. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you. The reason why I built it was because I absolutely hated hitting that little check mark that carries over the note from your previous session into your new session, or the one that you just had. Because I'm like, okay, I'm stuck in a hard place. Like, I don't have enough time to go between this session and this session to write the quality note that I want to write. Mm-hmm. And I do need to make sure I'm jealous for my time, because I have kids, I have my wife, I still need to make sure I prioritize them. Mm-hmm. And this tool right here allows me to clip it over and me do these like little minor edits to just tweak the update of whatever happened within my session. Mm-hmm. And then carry that on for the new soap note. And so for me, I'm like, well, I know how to collect certain components of this tech to create this soap note tool for myself. And so I built it so that I now have a fresh note or a fresh documentation note every single time. And it's not as though I have to rely on something that was written before and then just minor edit. It's fresh and new every single time. And it's based off of everything that I say throughout the session.
Yeah.
So I just literally hit the mic button. I just start talking, and I just say out loud everything that I want within the soap note at the very end. And at the very end, I hit stop and then just hit cue soap note. Boom. I've got it there within seconds. And the coolest thing about this that differentiates it between every other, what you would call like a AI scribe, is that this also takes into consideration group sessions for school-based SLPs.
So important.
So yes. So as long as you're, talking to the students, referencing the students, it's going to pick up everything. And at the very end, you'll have a nice clean soap note, whether you have 13 students in your group or you have 2 or 4, whatever, it's going to be in your soap note. And you're able to just copy, paste it over into an EMR or your progress note or whatever you need to with that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really, really nifty tool. I mean, I could talk all about the bells and whistles that are within it too, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty legit.
All right. What about the evaluation piece?
Yes.
I love evaluations. That's like my favorite thing in the world to do. I love it. So tell me about that.
Me too. I know something of your background where you worked in early intervention, right? Okay. So you understand like the importance of being as flexible as possible on the ground, moving around during those evaluations.
And having to make changes on the fly. And being like, that didn't work. And, everything you've planned and everything you've brought in, you're like, this is what we're going to do. And then within 10 seconds, you're like, that's gone. We're not going to be able to do that. Yeah.
Got to pivot. Exactly. Yeah. And so it's super important on that point, right? Within that evaluation report that you write, it is nice to be able to talk about how many different transitions you had, how many different things you had to kind of go through and hurdles, things that you saw. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about the evaluation in a qualitative sense. And so one of the cool things about the Evaluation Sidekick tool, specifically on the iOS app, is that it connects to your Apple Watch. And so the Apple Watch now is your wireless mic. So you just hit that mic button, open it up on your phone, and then you can move freely as much as you want with the student on the floor, go anywhere you want with the student, and it's going to capture everything that you're saying. So at the very end of that evaluation, whether you want to include the results, if you're going to do the results right then and there, or later on, you just hit stop and then you hit generate evaluation or get your first draft evaluation report. And you're able to get your evaluation report written for you. Now, the cool thing about this tool that's also really neat is that you're able to create your own templates. So I know every school district is different. Every insurance company is different as far as how they want certain things formatted.
Yeah.
So if you know you need it in this certain format, you could set that template in there. So right when you hit generate my first draft, it's right there for you in that template that you need or in that format that you need with all the information that you said. So it's real nifty. If you have an iPhone and an Apple Watch that is able to remain on, it's a game changer.
That's incredible. I love that because, as speech pathologists, a lot of times we're crawling around on the floor and we're under the tables and we're all over the place. So that is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I'm almost ready for school to start so that I can try that out.
Yeah. I mean, it's, this is the most favorite tool by all the SLPs that use the platform. They like this one and then also the language sample tool.
All right. Let's talk about the language sample tool.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes to do language samples.
I mean, who even has time to do that? You know what I mean?
And then they take forever. Nobody wants to do that. So talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the first school district that I did an in-service with SLP AI Tools, they're like, we can do language samples again.
Yeah.
And, it was this one lady who's been in the field for, I think, 30 plus years, who had really no interest in artificial intelligence. But the moment she's noticed that there was a language sample analysis tool, she's like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And she's been using it a ton, which has been really cool to see and hear. But basically all you do is you capture the audio just like you normally would, and then you upload it, and then it's going to transcribe it for you. And then all you have to do is just hit another button that says analyze the language, the transcript or a language analysis. And then it's going to spit out for you a really in-depth, thorough language sample analysis. So basically you'll get NDWs, TTRs, you'll get percent grammatical utterances, you'll be getting the different C units that are within this transcript. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any other components. Yeah, it's a decent amount of information that you can run off. Oh, MLUs. So MLUs. And there's two different types of MLUs. MLU by word, and then MLU, I think phrase. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Yeah. I should know this, but it's really nifty. And it's so nifty that we have a collaboration with SimuCase that is now going to be featuring this tool within their platform. So all of the students within the universities that have SimuCase will be able to utilize the language sample analysis tool, learn about how to use AI ethically, learn a little bit more about, the nuances of using AI within our field, and then also getting some clock hours for it as well. I
have been doing this for so long, and my mind is racing about this language sample piece of AI because I am from the day, Izzy, where I had a tape recorder with a cassette tape that I would have to record the child, hit the two buttons to record, and then to transcribe it, I had to go back and listen to it and then write it out and then rewind it and write it and rewind and write, and make sure that I got it was massively time consuming.
Yeah. Yes.
You're right. It was hours. And the fact that I can hit a record button, hit transcribe, and then analyze, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I can almost see the brown tape recorder now, and I'm just sitting there and listening and transcribing, trying to write it as fast as I can, and then having to rewind it because you missed something.
Yes.
And you go too far, you don't go far enough. And I've already listened to that. I don't know. I mean, it was a nightmare.
I know exactly how you feel. I had to do that when I was in graduate school, and I was doing that for fluency. And it's like, you want to make sure you capture the amount of repetitions they have. You want to make sure you heard whether or not that was a phonological error or whether that was actually a true phrase repetition. You know what I mean? Like, I totally get it. And I will say, like, the language sample analysis tool is good, but I probably should have also prefaced this before, but every single tool still needs all of us to inspect it because it is so AI forward, with the exception of these Caseload Calendar. You will always find some little tweaks in there. And so that's why it's like, it charges us to get that 90% of the work done. Yeah. Then we just go back in and of course we're going to go in and edit, or we're going to make sure that certain things are checking off and make sense.
Yeah, but that editing time is so much less than actually having to start from the ground up. I mean, you start from zero. Sure. I mean, you've got basically the work is done and you're just doing the editing, and that is just cutting the time. And I mean, it's just slicing it. Like, there's no comparison.
Yeah. No comparison at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Talk about the AI calendar, because I tell people all the time that as a school-based SLP, I think the hardest part of my job is scheduling the kids. Is that what it's going to help you do, is schedule?
Absolutely.
Because you can't pull them out during reading, and you can't pull them out during math, and they can't miss recess, and they can't miss PE, and they've got lunch at this time. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like that. And it's I changed the name to Caseload Calendar. Because the AI, when I first tried making it, I wanted the AI to be in charge of, everything as much as possible. But then I realized, the amount of variables that we have, the amount of things that we have to take into consideration. And also now at that time, understanding the limitations of artificial intelligence and how it's not that good. I made it now more into a logic-based type of calendar scheduler. There's still a little accent of AI that is used within it, but basically it's exactly that. You put in your caseload, you put in all those little block times, whether that's for grade level or specific for an individual. You say school starts at 8, ends at 3, and then you hit generate schedule. And it gives you 4 different schedules that you can run off of. First one could be just grade level dependent. So you're only going to be seeing students in groups or individual if you want by grade level. Or if you're okay with switching it up, you can switch it up. Like if you want to see a 2nd grader with a 4th grader, that's also available to you as well.
Unbelievable.
And on all these, there's other 2 variations based off of that. But it's super cool. Like, just as well as I do, like we usually dedicate a week to 2 weeks worth of time to figure this bad boy out. And it literally, you could figure it out by the end of your first day, as long as you have all the variables in there.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I was reading through my emails yesterday with our back to school agendas and all the things, and it's a week. Last year we had 2 weeks, and they're going to try to get it up and running and seeing kids that 2nd week this year, which is great. I mean, they don't need to be in school for 2 weeks without services. So, and that calendar piece I can't wait to try that.
No, yes. It's honestly, I have a patent pending on that bad boy because I have plans to even expand this out to the general special education with another name that I won't disclose right now, but they're pretty well known within ASHA. To broaden this out to help out OTs, PTs, and then also those special education teachers. Because, we have to collaborate with them. And make sure that all of our schedules aren't colliding with them. So
absolutely,
being able to get the logic that has been created to then broaden it out so that, we literally could start seeing students potentially day 3, as long as everyone's checking off and saying, this thing got everything right. We're good to go.
That's amazing.
So,
one last piece that I want to talk about, because our primary listeners are the younger generation, graduate students, recent grads, clinical fellows. Let's talk about the piece of SLP AI Tools, the AI Praxis Prep. Tell us about that, because that is, obviously forefront of all of our new grads getting ready to graduate, passing the Praxis. Tell us about the Praxis Prep piece.
Yes. So this was when I was doing teletherapy and I was working for a private practice. I was supervising university students at the same time. And so the Sovno tool was the first tool I developed. The second tool that I started to develop was the AI Praxis Prep because I wanted to create something for them. And so it takes into consideration all the ETS guidelines that they have to follow. And it allows them to get questions that are specifically in each topic and subtopic area within this platform. So if you're pretty spun up on dysarthria, but you need a little bit more information on dysphagia and the anatomy going on with dysphagia and swallowing disorders, you could tweak the system so that you could focus in on just studying questions in that area, following the ETS guidelines. So it really is helpful for you to be able to, again, just cater your learning towards the praxis, especially knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are. And here's what I would want to tell all the students too, just sign up for the platform for the free access, 30 days before you take the praxis, so you could just get the tool for free. If you don't want to spend $10 a month just so that you could practice it, just do that for the last 30 days and just use the tool for free and go and take and pass that praxis, no problem. Because ultimately, that's all we're here to do is to help. So there's one other tool that I would want to talk about, Michelle, if I could.
Absolutely.
No, thanks. It's SLP Chat. So it's like ChatGPT, but it's SLP specific. And so you can create all the materials just like you can, with the normal ChatGPT. But you're also able to create really high-end images, just like ChatGPT, and also create custom games within that platform as well. So I have games that are specifically for students that are targeting the P and the B sound the R sound, vocalic R sounds. I've created running man games where they're jumping over things, created, boom card style things, detective type questioning games, targeting language.
Wow.
It's really, really, really cool. And the best part is that you're able to send it to the parent or send it home and be like, here, go ahead and play this over at home. Your son built this or your daughter built this.
Wow. And this is what we've been doing in speech. So you get that carryover.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think we could probably sit here and talk for another hour or 2 hours about this platform. Absolutely amazing. SLP AI Tools. We're going to have everything linked in our show notes. How do you keep up to date with AI? Because it's every day you wake up, it's something different. It's something new. Like it's ever changing. How do you keep up with all of that?
Yeah. So like I said, for the past 4 years, I've been running in circles with people who are just fully immersed, these guys that are funding all these projects. So I got a really good pulse with those types of connections that I have as far as, what's going on. And I'll tell you that I'm not a big fan of agentic AI. And I think I talked about it a little bit earlier. But that is something that was or is supposed to be something that is talked about a lot more. It was talked about a lot towards the end of last year and beginning of this year. But that's basically where I get that type of information and where I'm kind of going through this whole process. But I'll be honest, Michelle, like one thing where I want to learn more and want to get a better pulse on is what speech pathologists are saying about artificial intelligence. Because I can't tell you, like, in this building process of the platform, how many times I heard there's a lot of negative talk around AI.
Absolutely.
Okay? I heard it. Never was part of it because I was way too busy just doing the thing, building the thing.
Yeah.
But it was always in the back of my mind, like, okay, it's there. Went to ASHA last year. Okay. Didn't hear a single soul, any SLP come up to me and just start saying how bad it was. Every single person that came up was like very interested, super intrigued about like how AI is being used within the field. So there's a part of me that's like, you're asking like where I got all this information from. Told you that, but I want to get more information from my fellow SLPs on the internet to see what internet SLP world is like. Because I have a feeling internet SLP world is a lot different than on the ground real world SLPs.
Absolutely.
On the basis of what I've experienced so far. So for me, it's like if anyone's listening to this and they're like, hey, you got to join this group so that you can hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I can get to know real people.
Yeah.
Then it's like, cool. Because I could go on Reddit, but I don't know if that's a bot that's, some part of some propaganda machine or if that's a true individual.
Yeah.
So that is something I want to grow in. That's for sure.
I love it. Are you going to ASHA this year in Indianapolis?
It's funny you bring that up. Okay. We're right across from each other over at ASHA. You guys are on, if you're looking down at the map, you guys are on the left side. I'm literally right across from you, right on the right. So we're going to be looking at each other basically the entire time.
Oh my gosh, Izzy, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to meet you. This is awesome. That's great. We love to meet our podcast guests at ASHA. And we've had so many that have been on the show in the past that we got to meet this last year in Washington, D.C. That is amazing. Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be fun. I'm really hoping that the Colts are going to be in town because if the Colts are in town, I'm going to a game.
Oh, yeah. Are you a Colts fan?
I'm not. I've just never been to an NFL game and I love sports. So sounds like fun, right?
No, 100%. Especially like the Colts stadium. It gets pretty nice and rowdy. And it's not like it's like, Las Vegas Raiders where you're like, oh, I might get mugged here with all these people. Like the Indianapolis people are nice and they're clean properly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, Izzy. Okay, so I always ask my guests one piece of advice, and I think that my question for you is, what advice would you give to SLPs that are looking into AI in regard to using it responsibly in their practice?
Always ask if whatever AI you're using has a BAA on file. That should be like the number one thing. That's a business associate agreement.
Okay.
If they do not, then you should not use that AI platform.
Okay.
If they do, if you have a BAA on file, then proceed to now understanding how am I going to be using this platform? Am I truly going to be that caricature where I'm going to be basically relying on AI? Or am I going to be the person, and I think this is the majority of us, who are trying to use AI to really amplify our work. And honestly, that is probably the biggest component for me with the ethics outside of everything I've already said. as far as how to use AI appropriately. Make sure that they have a BAA on file. That is like the most important thing. That's something that, going back to ASHA, what we brought to ASHA last year, to show everybody like this is important. So yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice. And have fun. Like it's meant to have us. One of the things I'm talking about a lot is it's bringing us back to where our profession began, where our paperwork was functional, minimal, and we're focusing a lot more on the person. We're focusing a lot more on the outcomes. We're focusing a lot more on just getting that human to human connection. And so AI is now allowing us to get back to that time with us not having to spend the majority of our time in our paperwork, but then to have fun with our clients again, to dive in even deeper with them and more with the families and those that we serve. So that would be, again, my last spiel for them.
I love
everybody.
At my age, I have a birthday tomorrow. I'm not even going to talk about how old I'm going to be, but you were talking about the SLP earlier, that when you did the in-service, and she'd been in the field for 30 years. So she was probably close to my age. And it's scary for us. We're Gen X, and AI and the computers and all of that stuff is scary for us. So you made it a lot less scary today, Izzy. So cool. Thank you for that. And knowing that these tools are out there, I do have a subscription to SLP AI Tools, and I have not started implementing it yet. I've had a lot going on the end of the year, the end of the year. But that's on my to-do list for the summer, is to really explore the app and learn how I can implement it and what pieces are going to be beneficial to me.
Let's go over it together.
Yeah, I would love that.
Let's go over it together. I'd love to do that too.
Izzy, thank you so much for joining us today and bringing SLP AI Tools to life for us. We're going to have everything linked in the show notes, and I will see you in November in Indianapolis, Indiana at ASHA. Thank y'all for joining today, and we will talk to y'all soon. Thank you for tuning in to SLP Full Disclosure. You can learn more about this episode and our show on our website at amnhealthcare.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find show updates and SLP opportunities on our Instagram at AMN Allied. Special thanks to AMN Healthcare for making this show possible. See y'all next time.